In this session, I was drawing a character concept of something that I had previously thought of. I had come up with this idea of a character wielding a huge sword, and I had this very clear image in my mind that I didn't want to lose. So just as I jumped into Photoshop to start sketching it out, I started trying to capture the shape. I knew pretty much what the head looks like, because it's something that you don't leave alone when you imagine a character. And the proportion of the sword, even though I think the sword is smaller than what I had imagined, I would imagine a sword that is bigger than the character in all senses. But I had this idea of a very round shape, of a very elliptical character, and just sort of hunched over himself with his shoulders raised. And I just couldn't get the shape to look right, because and that's one of the problems that you have when you're doing character design, is that you have this thing at the back of your mind going, this is a human, this is something that looks like a human. There's a huge jump here on the drawing, because because I basically paused the streaming and then restarted it later on, and lost part of the footage. But basically I just kept drawing and drawing figures until I found one that I thought was going to work. And I made a new layer on top of that and started refining the shapes, because as you can see, the hands and the arms, they're basically rectangles. And just how I move the arms there, it means that even as you're sort of cleaning up, you can still make adjustments to your design. I mean, it's never set in stone. But as I was saying, the idea of drawing a character and then feeling like it has to have this length of arms or this length of legs, or the shoulders need to be this wide or this narrow, that kind of thought actually limits you so much more than one can imagine, because it just keeps telling you that what you're doing is incorrect. And there's really no such thing when it's concept design, and when it's something out of your imagination. I mean, if you're drawing from a live model, or if you're drawing to get some realism out of your drawing, obviously then you need to respect sort of the real world proportions or something. In this case, I'm trying to do better line art work, because I'm planning on doing a style later on, which involves using the outline as shading as well, so having a colored outline on the character. And that's why I'm trying to do a better outline on my drawing than I had previously. I'm using this brush tip, which is a triangular brush tip. It's a friend of mine actually showed me once. He's really good at inking, and I thought I should give it a try. I'm really bad at inking. As you can see, my lines are pretty much same thickness. There's no dynamic in the line, even though the brush itself provides a little bit more dynamic. I think that's all there is to it. That's just all the work is done by the brush, which, as someone who's trying to ink, is something you feel really bad about, like the brush is doing your work. This is how big I wanted this sword. I really wanted it to look good and have a big presence on the screen, because it's going to be, because this guy's going to be attacking and defending. So it's one of the main elements of animation. It's going to provide the viewer with the notion of what's happening. So that's something that I want to keep really big and strong. The other thing I want to do is I want to do a shading style that is based on just two colors. So main color, shadow. And the way you do that is by creating this set of the color flats, or the color groups, as people call it. I mean, it gets called different things, but and the reason why it's good to have a line art like this, it's because you don't have to match the colors so well underneath. You don't really have to have them stick together perfectly. Now, I know that this is going to be a character that I'll be animating, so the scarf is definitely going to go, because the tool that I'm going to use to animate does not yet allow for cloth animation, like, for example, Spine does, which is a really good animation tool. So I know I'm going to have to drop that. Otherwise, I'd get a cape that would look really, or cape, or a scarf that would look really stiff. The combination that I'm using here is just the purple and yellow, which is a combination that just, just works. I mean, it does look a little too vulgar, and well, not vulgar, but looks a little too commonplace. I kind of eventually I'll decide against it on another video, because I do feel that it's not it doesn't stand out enough. And losing the scarf, I do keep the hairstyle, and I do keep the proportions of the face, the kind of proportions of the face, and I feel like this is going to need some shading. So one of the methods that I like to use is just to create a shadow and then, for example, erase parts of it. And the reason why I prefer to make the shadow and then erase, it's because sometimes I interpret where the light is better than where the position is. But it's pretty much the same level of difficulty. I mean, if you can figure one out, you can figure the other one out. It's just that it's nice to vary from time to time on how you read your drawing, how you perceive your drawing. And I'm basically just cutting holes in the shadow to trying to get to where the light is. I had the care of leaving a little bit of arm shadow on the character's left knee. So it's something that it's not complicated to do. I do add a little bit of a red tint to the shadow so that it doesn't look this sort of boring gray that's going to fade everything out. And also create the same sort of shape here. The problem with this is making a big shape like that on the sword is that you risk creating something that is too glossy. So your drawing will look a little too metal, too reflective, or too chrome. So you kind of have to watch for that. Just adding a shadow there just to accentuate the position of light, but it does have to sort of fit the same light direction as it was initially. And yeah, this is pretty much the drawing as it came out. It wasn't a very long process, but that's it.